Howdy, everyone. We are back. We missed last week. I was in Atlanta working with a client, and Terry was busy doing Terry stuff, but which is lots, always. I love it.
What sort of thing is Terry stuff, by the way?
It was just fun to get a reaction. But hey, my name is Doug Kothe. I am the founder and principal consultant for the People Smart Group. We work with companies and nonprofits to help their organizations get better results and do better by being healthier, building healthy teams, building healthy leadership, healthy leaders, and getting that organization to work at its optimum ability. And then I'm also the member of and the founder of the Organizational Health Collective, and we are a group that helps consultants like ourselves and coaches like us that are focused in the organizational health arena to grow in our ability to meet the needs of our clients. And so we want to grow in our expertise, and we also want to grow in the network of people we know and are able to help and or refer to or that sort of stuff. So that's who we are, or I am. And we're over my friend Terry here, my cohort.
Yeah, Doug is not just a founder, he's also a member. And if anybody really gets that, it's from the commercial, from the commercial in the 90s.
Right?
The 90s? Are we dating ourselves? I'm Dr. Terry Wager, and my company is Generator Consulting, and we work with team performance, helping individual and teams perform better. And that's the way we kind of talk about it. We do a lot of stuff. I do executive coaching, and I can go into a laundry list of stuff. But why don't we just talk about what the topic is?
Absolutely. That sounds like a great.
Oh, I'm also a member.
He is. He's a member. He didn't found it, but he's a member.
Hey, I found it. I found it.
And that is his own hair too, so we're good. Oh, well, enough of the fun. Let's get into the real fun. So last time, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the idea that relationships are vital. They're a key piece, and we need to work on those. And so today we're going to dive a little deeper into what does it look like to connect with people, connect with your people in terms of who are your employees, who's your direct team, that sort of thing. How do we go about connecting with them at a level that really builds the needed trust, a level that builds the needed relationship on the business level that allows us to work well together. And the same for people coming in to our organization, the same for people even we work with. It'll all play out. But all right. So connecting with people.
Man, it's not easy all the time. It really isn't, because here's the reality of every human out there. We want to connect, we want to be vulnerable, we want to open up, and we also want to protect ourselves.
Yep.
At the very same time. And so the problem is that protection overrides the vulnerability most of the time.
Yep.
As a result, people's own personal agenda comes out, and it clouds our ability to see where we're selfish, self-centered. It clouds our ability to see where we're unfair. It clouds our ability to see where we're not really being a connector, but we're being more of a transactional type person.
That's good. I like the way you put that. Yeah. And so as leaders, there is a reality that we have to be willing to get in that mess, right? Far too often, we want to deal with the data, deal with the processes, the transactions, and then we keep people in that zone as well, as though they're a transaction to manage, rather than they're actually this intricate and complicated reality, and so are we. Right. And we've got to deal with us. We've got to deal with them in a way that helps us to build those connections that are really strong, healthy, and productive.
Well, and I think it's really important to realize, and I mean, I'm going through this with some people that I've been working with for a little while, and when it comes down to it, what can I get instead of what am I providing? And when we get into the what can I get, or how is this going to be best for me, I start to lose perspective on how it's going to be good for everyone. And, that's where oftentimes people are like, it's just business, not personal. No, it's not. It's personal. Because as soon as I'm working with somebody and we have a good relationship and everything's good, until all of a sudden the selfishness or the unfairness of the relationship or the power dynamic changes in some way that isn't really approached from a place of, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm afraid I'm going to lose, or this is what I'm afraid I'm going to give up, and put that out vulnerably. But instead, this is what I want, and you should probably just give it to me because we're friends. And it's like, wait a minute, and I don't know if anybody's ever had friends come to you, but you have some kind of business that you're doing really well, so they think they should get freebies, or they should get, and it's like, is that a friend? And I used to be that way. I used to, hey, my friend does this, I should be able to get him to do that for me for free, or I should get, they own this restaurant, so I should go eat for free because I'm special. Yep. And it's like, no, if that person was special to me, I'd be patronizing them, and I'd be giving them what they're worth because I want to see them successful. And what happens is we often go the other way, and what we're actually doing is we're putting a barrier between us in that friendship or in that relationship. And this is, and I'm speaking of friends, and I just had this happen to me. That's why I'm like talking about it. But at the same time, it really goes into, how is this showing up at work? And how is this showing up in your business that, hey, you know what? I think you're really great and everything. And we have the agreement of how you're going to work, what you're going to do. But I want you to do this extra project.
Right.
I want you to work extra weekend or extra hours, or I want you to, we eliminated that position of that other person, so we're going to give it to you. Hey, we're helping you grow.
Yeah. All I got was more work, nothing else, right?
Right. And then the response is, wait a minute, is that helping me grow? How is that working for me? But there's no real discussion around it, because it was an assumption. Instead of saying, hey, I'm having this problem and I want to talk to you about it and see what we can do to work it out, and this is what I was thinking, but let's come to a mutual agreement.
Yeah. So what I hear you laying out there, and I think this is so vital for leaders to know, is a barrier to that connection is your own selfishness. And to the degree that you're just trying to get something from the people around you, to that degree, you may get something from them for a while. You may manipulate them into doing what you want them to do. But the bottom line is going to end up, you're going to lose the person, you're going to lose the relationship, and you're going to lose the productivity and everything, all the success that would come from that relationship. Because you are, instead of caring about the other person and seeking a mutual win, you're seeking to transact upon that relationship, and so that you win. And it's just about you. And so at the end of the day, you've got to care about the other person. You've got to want them to win. You want a mutual win out of it, and not, hey, you know what, I want to get what I can, and then we'll move on.
Well, the interesting thing that goes along with that is the distortion of value from the interaction as well. And so it's like, look, you know what? I really don't need what we agreed upon in the beginning anymore. So that's not that big a deal anymore. So I think I want to change the agreement because I'm not valuing that. Do I need it? In reality, if you look from the outside, absolutely. It's, in fact, probably more vital now. But because I've decided, as looking to get what I think my needs are met, I've discounted that, and now I'm going for this. And so as a result, now I'm going to change the whole agreement, telling myself I don't need that thing that was vital in the first place. But now I want you to do this, and I want you to do this other thing. And then now it's really stacked in my favor, and I've stepped out of the agreement that I made, and I didn't even know I did it because I told myself a little story that what we agreed on in the beginning wasn't really necessary.
Yeah. We're our own greatest inner lawyers, right? We can figure it all out and justify it all and go, hey, this is how this is going to work out. But at the end of the day, you can't do that. You're basically, you have to think through things from the side of the other person. I think that's a vital piece, right? If I have been in the situation where someone else has taken the rules of the game and then switched them up mid-course, how'd that make me feel? I felt manipulated. I felt taken advantage of. I felt unimportant to that person. That I'm not thinking
I'm
of
going to
them
use
being
another word
friendly.
that I think people can really relate to: betrayed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
You know,
totally.
and then once it's out there and put out that way, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Now, instead of being able to have that open conversation and
Yep.
be able to get into the danger of that conflict in a vulnerable way, now I'm protecting too and going, okay, what else is going on and how else am I getting? And so now I become suspicious instead of open.
Yep. Yeah.
Now
The
you
entire
have two people suspicious
Yep.
trying to gain ground in some way instead of going, wait a minute, no, let's wash all of this off the table and really think about this.
Yep. Yeah, and when you become suspicious or you feel betrayed, the entire relationship becomes an us versus them, right? Who's going to get more? Now we're battling each other rather than working together. And
Yeah.
so we lose the synergy, the productivity of working together because now we're working against each other. And how can I get what I want? How can you get what you want? And now it's a matter of, hey, how are we just splitting things up?
And what if this is the whole team?
Yeah. Yep.
And this is a lot of the times what happens, especially if you have one person that walks in and is more rigid and unwilling to see that and unwilling to look at how they're behaving within the rules that they already agreed upon, or maybe they didn't have rules that they agreed upon, and so they're looking at it going, wait a minute, the rule I agreed upon was me,
Mm.
and the way I see it is right because that's what I want.
Yep.
Everybody else in the system is going to go, whoa, no, what about me? Or
Yep.
we're all going to gang up against that person. There's
Right.
so many different ways to go, but it's all sideways now because somebody is protecting themselves instead of becoming vulnerable.
Yep. Well, and then the challenge there for the leader of that team is it's on you to one model that I'm going to engage this for our welfare, not just my welfare. And then two, it's on you to be the one that confronts it when someone else is being self-centered and self-focused and selfish. It's your job to then bring them back into being team focused and caring about the other people in the room. And if they can't be that, well, then it's your job to get them off the team.
Right. Right. And I actually was in an offsite this weekend, or not this weekend, but in the beginning of last week, which felt like a weekend. It was whirlwind. While Doug was working with his people, we went off and had our own little 2-day offsite. And the funny thing is this is exactly what happened. And one of the team members who was sort of team adjacent, but a part of the whole deal and supposed to be a vital part of the team, was pushing off his, and he was doing it very cleverly. And I don't know if he realized he was doing it, but this is what kind of came to light in the discussion is, okay, what are you responsible for in this group? And he kind of lists it. And then the person that, well, there's two other people on the team, and I don't know how to explain this other than kind of abstractly, but he's responsible for logistics, but then he's asking one of the other people that's under him to do all of the work for logistics. And then the operations side, he's asking the operations side to do all of that stuff. And so he became like the maestro, saying that he's responsible for it, but asking them to do it. Then they don't know exactly what he's talking about. So they go to the owner who gave this guy the marching orders for what to do. And he's like, but I asked this other guy to do it.
Yeah.
Guy A, so to speak. And so we quickly realized that this guy who's in this position of responsibility is actually not accountable and giving all of his commitments to other people and asking them to do it. And then he'd come back, if the commitment was done, he'd come back and say, here, I did it. And if it wasn't done, he'd give excuses why it wasn't done. And the reason this was working is because before I stepped on scene, they never had the team meeting together because this company grew real fast, and it was one owner who brought in a bunch of different people that didn't really know each other and talk. And so he was like the hub of a bunch of spokes. When I brought them in the room, they're like, we had no idea this was happening.
Wow. Yep.
But it goes back to the connections. They weren't connected with each other. They weren't having team meetings. They weren't talking about things as a team. And so they didn't build connections. They built a bunch of silos.
Yep. Yep. Wow.
And as a result, they're all siloed. And by the way, I'm going to say that somebody can silo themselves just by deciding, like I said earlier, that they're right about something and the way they see it is right and nobody else really understands it.
Yes. That's good.
And so when that happens, and that's kind of what this guy did, and I've had other people do that recently, is like there's a lot of siloing going on. There's a whole lot of me talking to me about me in my situation, so I'm right. As a result, the teams break down.
Yep.
And the unfortunate result of this is everybody kind of voted him off the island, and he's going to be unemployed with this company, I think, tomorrow.
Wow. Yep. Well, he made himself superfluous, right? I mean, he basically says a group of people that are doing his work. He's not doing anything. And they're having to go to his boss above him to find out what they're doing and why they're doing it. So, I mean, what's the point of you? None. Out. See ya. And so you basically worked your way out of a job by your own lack of connectedness and that lack of accountability.
Right. And so when we get back to the connections and why they're so vital for success is because if we don't have them, number one, we got to do everything our own.
Yep.
The other is I cannot see myself. I cannot see my blind spots without other people. And we can't do all of the work that's necessary on our own. Yep. And so we have to have the communication. We have to be able to talk. We have to be able to bring up the things that are difficult to talk about. And we have to really be able to own and be responsible for where we're making mistakes.
Yep. Yeah, and I love your picture there, and I've got one that has been similar. Another way that those sort of silos happen, but is when things get siloed out and people are not communicating and connected with one another, well, then we get blindsided. Somebody gets blindsided. And so another way I've seen that is with leadership teams where all of a sudden there's back channel communication between a few people on the leadership team, and they're forming an alliance. And they've got ideas, and they're communicating about ideas without the whole team. And all that happens there is it becomes them and us. And now it's a competition, and somebody's going to get blindsided by what comes out of that. And so the interesting thing for leaders is, hey, if you're not going to be connected with your people, just like this leader, you're going to get blindsided. You're going to find out things that you didn't realize were going on, and all of a sudden go, wait, how long has that been going on? Wait, why is that going on? On the flip side, I would say as a leader, one of the key pieces of not connecting with your people is that they get blindsided. You don't talk to them, you don't connect with them all along, and then you have an annual review, and they find out you're not happy with them.
If you do annual reviews.
Yeah. If your person doesn't know going into an annual review just about everything that's going to be said to them, you're doing a sucky job as a leader. You should be connecting with them on an ongoing basis. You really should. I mean, you need to be connected. They need to know. You need to be transparent with, hey, these are areas of growth. Are you checking in with your people ongoing along the way? Do you have those one-on-ones? Do you have those connections? Is your team connecting? And is there room for people to be open and honest to the degree that you know what's going on, they know what's going on, and no one gets caught off guard? That should be the case if you're connected.
I think along with that, because you just sparked something in what I'm thinking about is also, are you the type of leader that has an idea, you ideate on it, you come up with it, and then you tell people what to do as if it's the label, like go do this, and you don't give them the instructions on how to do it, and then they don't do it right, and then they're terrible.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't know how to follow directions, or they just don't know how to be what you asked them to be, but you gave them a label of what you want instead of a direction of what you want. And you didn't discuss it with them how they would go about doing it. And so as a result, they don't know how to do what you asked.
Right. And again, connection could overcome that, right? Because if we're connected, we can come back to you and ask. But if we don't have the connection, I'm not going to feel safe to ask. I'm just going to try and figure it out myself. And I'm going to go
put their head down and go to it and try to get it done. And then they go, how did I do? And then that's not what I want at all. You don't know what you're doing. They're like, whoa.
Right.
And then it's causing real frustration with the leader because they gave poor instruction and they gave an idea of something instead of an actual this is how we want to do it, or this is what I want. How are we going to do it? And how are we going to know that done is done?
Yep. That's good.
And that's really important. And what I see over and over is the businesses and the teams that are having problems is I just want this done.
Yep.
But they don't discuss what done looks like, and they don't discuss what the steps are, and they don't discuss the responsibilities of each person for that.
Yep. Absolutely. And then there's not the room for ongoing discussion, right? And so it's like, hey, even if we came to those conclusions, there's still going to be questions along the way, and I should be engaged as a leader in those questions, not standing aloof off to the side going, well, I left that to you, get her done, and I'll be over here when you're done. No, you've actually got to engage along the way and along the process with your people. And you need to manage people. That's your job, right? If you're a leader, you manage people. But most leaders want to go, hey, I hired you to do the job. I don't want to have to manage you. It's like, no, that's actually not your job. Your job is to manage them and to assist them and to walk with them.
Well, and it becomes so much easier when you do that. And it's funny how much that just having simple conversations that feel very like we're having right now creates such clarity that the steps are easy then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so leaders, I mean, if that happens and you don't have that connection and you don't have that clarity, what happens? There's a waste of time. There's a waste of resources. You're ending up doing the same thing over again because guess what? What you told them needed to be done didn't get done. Now, that's on you as much as it is them. And at the end of the day, all you can do is reset and do it.
Yeah. And I think that not just waste of time and waste of resources, but really the relationship starts to get damaged. People start to get resentful, and they may not even know they're resentful because resentment is something that shows up out of nowhere. Like I'm all of a sudden mad at these people. And instead of saying, okay, I'm seeing that I'm not happy and I'm not addressing it, and it creates more avoidance as well.
Yep. That's good.
And so as soon as we start to resent, we start to avoid because people don't like confrontation. And I mean, I'm very, very comfortable with confrontation, and I still don't like it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'd much rather get along with everybody.
Right. And so a key piece of connecting leaders is, guess what? Saying, I'm sorry, I screwed up. Hey, I own what I did. I messed up. I didn't give you good directions. I didn't. So follow my lead. I am sorry. There you go. Those are key words that you need to be able to say to your people. I messed up. Those are key words you got to be able to say to your people because that feels.
I was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You were right. Hey, how about that one? Uh-oh. So we've got to have the humility and willingness to just own our crap and realize that, you know, when the communication goes wrong in a team, guess what, leader? It's on you because you're the one that's charged with making sure that communication is going and is happening and the connections are there. And so you're the leader. You take ownership.
Right. And so how do we take ownership? You know, the first thing I think about when we're saying take ownership is I walk into a situation and this is what I think. How am I wrong? What information am I missing? And inquire and ask that information of the other people is how do you see it? And one of the scariest things to do is, okay, how do you see me? When I come into the room or when I come into the meeting or I come into the group, how do you see me? And I mean, I had a little bit of this yesterday because we were joking with a couple of friends of mine, and I tend to we're going to church, and I tend to pay attention to the message, but then I also take notes with it and then dissect where I sit with that. And they were all like, okay, we're going to go. And Terry's going to decide to see where the guy's wrong. And I was like, I don't think I'm doing that, but well, wait a minute, maybe I am. And that's like, I didn't know that's how they saw me. You know, this is somebody, you know, kind of close to me, like Christine. And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm doing, but you know what? It is.
Yeah.
But it's also when you look at my working genius discernment, I'm playing with my discernment. And then because, well, I'm a discerner galvanizer, I tend to want to talk about what I found.
Right. Yep. And get everyone on the same page.
And so, and then I change their minds too.
Right.
And
Right.
and so it's like, I don't know I'm necessarily doing this, but it's good information. And so it's like, oh shoot, how am I coming across in meetings this way? How am I coming across in my relationship this way? How am I coming across? And I have to actually take that in and look at that. And so the question I have is, how often are you leaders who might be listening to this or might not be, how often are you looking at how am I coming across to them, and are you asking them how they're coming across?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I would take a step further. Too many leaders talk too much. We want to tell, not ask. We want to have proclamations, not conversations. And so, leader, if that's you, here's a challenge to you. You need to become a question asker. You need to ask those types of questions. You need to probe with your people to find out, hey, how am I coming across? Hey, are you understanding what I asked you to do? Hey, those kinds of questions are absolutely vital if you want communication to actually work. If all you do is declare, you don't have no idea what they thought, what they heard. And so just if Terry's perfect example right there of, hey, you know what? I had no idea I was coming across that way. But guess what? The fact he's willing to listen and hear and then take that in and go, okay, well, how am I coming across that way? Why am I coming across that way? How does that affect different areas of my life? Do I come across that way in other places? And that should be your mentality. You should be a learner. And when people tell you those sorts of things, it's a great opportunity to go and reflect and take a moment and say, okay, something's here. And then even to dialogue further, ask people further questions that come up of like, really? Why would you say that? What is it that I do that makes you feel that way? What is it that what do I say that makes it come across that I'm the authority and I'm saying X is wrong? How does that look? And so we learn from that, we grow from that, and we get more connected. Guess what? People connect to you more when you ask their opinion, when you want to know what they think, what they feel, where they're at on things.
Right. And so I think that we be wrapping up at this point. And for me, the way I kind of think about this with connections being as vital as they are and really making sure that this is hitting home, I like to use this idea of place, and it's an acronym if you didn't know that. But and I'm going to say what it is really quick, and Doug, you can wrap up with what you say after this. But I want people to think about being playful with their conversations. And when I say playful, I mean about themselves, not taking themselves too seriously, and then loving and appreciating that everybody in your life is wanting to give to you, not take from you. And then accepting of what you're hearing, accepting the situation as it is, curious about where they're coming from and getting more information about whatever's going on, and then empathic and seeing things from where they're coming from. Because when we can do that, and it's called place, and when we can do that, we can be very open and we can hear more information. We can grow the way we want to, and we actually create connections that become vital to us because we cherish them.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, as I was thinking, your acronym hits on several of the things I was thinking about in terms of curiosity, in terms of empathy, in terms of those sorts of things. And I think the root of each of those, and that's where I'll go, is humility. Will we not think so much of ourselves that we can't learn from other people? Will we not think so much of ourselves that we could be wrong? Will we not think so much of ourselves that we think we've got it all figured out? We think we said it perfectly right, and everyone else should just understand and get it. We need the humility to realize, guess what? I'm not perfect, and I'm far from it, and I need the input of others to grow, to learn. And if we're going to work together and operate together, I need that input in order to be able to succeed. And so, if you're not there as a leader, this is a character quality that you need to grow in. And I would encourage you and challenge you with that. So that's my final thought, Terry's final thought. And we will see you, I think, in 2 weeks. Next week is going to be Thanksgiving week. So we might take that week off If you see
Or
it
it might
posted,
not. Who knows?
I don't know. They might talk out of that. So maybe we'll be here next week. If we're not, just know we'll be back in a couple weeks. And we love this. We love doing this. And if you have some input that you want to give us, we would love to hear it. So have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.